Assigned energy source, wind power, created by Kayla and Karen. Wind power is the conversion of wind energy into a useful form of energy, such as using wind turbines to make electrical power, windmills for mechanical power, wind pumps for water pumping or drainage, or sails to make propel ships. Sailboats and sailing ships have been using wind power for thousands of years, and architects have used wind-driven natural ventilation in buildings since similarly ancient times. Wind energy propelled boats along the Nile River as early as 500 BC, and by 2200 BC, simple windmills such in China were pumping water, while vertical axis windmills with woven reed sails were grinding grain in Persia and the Middle East. Wind power is found most abundantly where wind speeds are 11 to 13 miles per hour, high elevation, far away from wildlife, mountains, hills, deserts, plains, and offshore. Wind power is used the most in Germany, Spain, the US, India, and Denmark. Wind power is a renewable resource. Wind is a free resource that is never ending. Wind power as an alternative to fossil fuels is plentiful, renewable, widely distributed, clean, produces no greenhouse gas emissions during operation, and uses little land. In 1887, a Scottish academic professor, James Blyth, built a cloth-sailed wind turbine in the garden of his cottage in Mariac and used the electricity in it in the 1990s. The Danish scientist and inventor Paul Lacour constructed wind turbines to generate electricity, which was used to produce hydrogen and oxygen by electrolysis. A mixture of the two gases was stored for use, fuel produced to charge accumulators, which he used by lights in his cottage. By the mid-1920s, 1 and 3 kilowatt generators developed by companies such as Paris Dunn and Jacobs Wind Electric found widespread use in rural areas in the Midwestern Great Plains of the U.S. In 1975, the U.S. Department of Energy funded a project to develop the utility-scale wind turbines. Wind energy is primarily recovered by the use of wind turbines. These turbines are spun as wind passes by. This spinning causes a mechanical energy that is then transformed into electrical energy. ROI of 11 to 1. It is valuable in certain areas, however, not if it is not a windy area. This resource would not be very valuable. The major challenge of using wind as a source of power is that it is intermittent and doesn't always blow when electricity is needed. Wind cannot be stored, although wind-generated electricity can be stored if batteries are used. And if not all winds can be harnessed to meet timing of electrical demands. Further good, wind sites are often located in remote locations far from electrical power demand, such as cities. Finally, wind resource development may compete with other uses for land, and those alternative uses may be more highly valued than electrical generation.
The primary use of wind power is to harness the power of the wind in order to generate electricity for homes, farms, and whole communities. 3 types of wind powers are utility-scale wind, which is delivered to the power grid and distributed by utilities, distributed wind, which directly powers a home, or offshore wind, which are turbines that stand in the middle of the water. Wind energy has many ecological, economic, and social benefits. For example, wind energy is the least expensive renewable energy resource. Acquiring wind is also free, unlike mining for coal. Wind power is also emission-free, excluding the manufacturing of the wind turbine. Another advantage is that the wind turbine only takes up a small area of space. That way, farmers can use the land around the turbine. There are some disadvantages to wind power as well. Wind is not constant, and because of that, the turbines will not generate a constant amount of energy at all times. Also, to some, wind turbines may be an unpleasant addition to a landscape. To manufacture wind turbines, there is some air pollution, so wind power isn't 100% emission-free. Wind is greatest in remote locations, but unfortunately, electricity is not needed in those areas as much. Wind energy impacts the environment. The lesser the most energy sources. Wind turbines cause the death of birds and bats due to collisions and habitat disruption. However, this is a low threat to the population. Wind turbines do not impact water use. Maintenance, construction, and transportation of the wind turbine produces 0.6 to 2 pounds of CO2 per kilowatt hour, but it is low compared to coal, which is 1.4 to 3.6 pounds of CO2 per kilowatt hour. This CO2 contributes to global warming. The areas a wind turbine occupies will be destroyed, but as stated previously, the areas are small. cost of the wind turbines to power a home is approximately $30,000, but the range is $10,000 to $70,000. If someone wished to purchase a small off-grid turbine, it would be $4,000 to $9,000. This is a high cost to consumers. However, it would take 6 to 30 years for the use of wind to pay the consumer back for the cost of the turbine, depending on quality of wind, electricity rates, and available financing and incentives. Future wind energy will be to develop more offshore sites because in the ocean, wind is stronger. By 2020, 1/3 of wind energy will be produced offshore. In all countries, wind power is developing quickly at a rate of 10 to 40% per year. Hopefully, the U.S. will use offshore sites of wind turbines in the future.